Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics on Radam. Egberto Will is your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, folks. It is D-Day. It is time for us to get busy. It's time for us to get educated. It is time for us to stop letting them play us. It's time to stop the con. You hear the parade of endorsements coming down. You hear the parade of people coming in. You hear things, they are making things inevitable. And you know what's going on, right? The idea is shock and awe. You overwhelm them with the feeling that there is an impossibility that anything but what the corporatocracy wants is going to occur, that anything but what the democracy wants will occur, that anything that less than what the establishment wants will occur. Brothers and sisters, go out there and show it is different. Go out there and show some courage. Go out there and let them see that no, you have a mind, you have your vote, and you can decide what is best for you. You are not going to fall for fear. You are not going to fall for the lies that they tell you. Today is a horrendous day economically for the entire capitalist world. A horrendous day because of a little thing called the COVID-19. The coronavirus. The coronavirus we are going to talk about that when we get to the program. But anyhow, let's start with the program. And then I want to get into a short spiel on Economics 101 expressed in a very easy to understand way so that you will not have the fear, so that you don't start thinking, you don't continue to think the things that are possible are impossible. We need you to really forget about the fear. We need you to go out there and show the corporatocracy that no longer can they use your airwaves to lie to you. No longer can they use your airwaves to really frame the only options that you have. When you know in a democracy, you are the one in control, but they have taken that away from you. Not with a whip anymore, not with a gun anymore, not with any of that, but with mental engineering, mental thought engineering. And what we have to do is make you immune to that which hurts you based on the infliction from others. Brothers and sisters, I beg that if you're just tuning in, that you share this program, because what we have to do going forward is we have to get busy. We have to take it into our own hands. We have to make sure this stuff changes. We can't let this stand. And you know what? We don't have to. People are sitting back there thinking we don't have any options. People are sitting back there thinking we have to continue to accept what they give us. We have to continue to vote the way they tell us to vote, because otherwise we won't get what we want. I have some videos to show you. I have some outtakes to show you that I think it won't shock many of my listeners, but for those that you share this program to, when they see it, I can guarantee you, they will get courage to then say, you know what? Just maybe, I need to listen a little bit more. Just maybe, folks, if you're just joining in, I'm kind of holding on before I start the program because I need you to start talking. I need you to start sharing. I need you to start letting people understand what we're about. I need to let you when we talk to people, folks, we have to talk to people understanding that they are fearful. I went earlier this morning. I had to leave the studio, and I had a meeting with an organization, a grassroots organization in town. And one of the reasons for the meeting was because they wanted politically people that are somewhat into politics and know it well to be a part of the organization, to help these grassroots organizations mobilize, organize, and ensure that people are informed and know how to make votes. Because right now, the woman that spoke to me, she had a prescient question. She said, Egberto, how do you stay strong? How do you stay strong? And I understood exactly what she was talking about. When she said, how do you stay strong, is with all the headwinds that are coming, if we take a look at what the plutocracy is doing right now, if you take a look at the air of inevitability on MSNBC, CNN, and everything, oh, we know how this is going to turn out already. All the new polls that are coming out, which are correct in the instant in time, I have no doubt that they are, which are generally correct in that instant in time, but all the polls are now showing the person, the champion of the middle class, the champion of real, honest grassrootism, the champion of that of what America needs to move out of this morass, is out of it, according to them. Oh, he doesn't stand a chance. But I want to show you guys something before I get really, really deep into the program, and I need you to understand this. I need you to share this with your friends as well. Let me tell you what's done so far. This picture that I have up here, that pie diagram, is where we are in the Democratic race as of March 9th. In other words, if you take a look at that box, most of the delegates, 2/3 of the delegates, are yet to be allocated. A little bit less than 2/3. And Biden has a little lead over Bernie Sanders. Let's see where we are right now. Now, to go ahead and try to tell you that this thing is over, and to try to put the pressure on by bringing all these candidates to, Kamala Harris endorsed Biden. And then we get Cory Booker endorsed Biden. Elizabeth Warren, if you're listening, or if any of Elizabeth Warren's proteges are listening, let them know Elizabeth Warren could have the largest impact on this election by coming out today and saying immediately, look, everything that I told you was true about the establishment, again, about the corporatocracy. Look how they've circled the wagon. Look how they've taken over all means of information. Look how they have stacked the decks to ensure that people feel an inevitability of a particular candidate and a uselessness within themselves. People say, well, no, Egberto, that's not true. People are just voting their interests. Absolutely not. And what I'm going to first show you is a video from some Michigan women. Remember, the next important races in Michigan, Alabama, Washington, and a few other places. I want you to listen to these women. This is very important. Listen to these women.
That you and your entire family supported Bernie in 2016?
Yes, we did. My entire family, except for my mother. We all supported Bernie Sanders. We all wanted to see a big change. We didn't want to see status quo corporate Democrat. Now, after 4 years of Trump, I'm a little bit afraid of the unconventional.
The electability part of it is, I think, what's throwing a lot of people off and throwing a lot of people off of their values. They're very concerned about who's going to go up against Trump, who's going to be able to bring the fire, bring the energy that's going to win the general election. And so a lot of people aren't voting with their values because of that.
A lot of people aren't voting on their values because they believe at this point in time they're so scared of Trump that they think they have to pick the sure bet, and their sure bet, they believe, is Mr. Biden. That is who they believe their sure bet is. And look, let me tell you up front, if the race is between Biden and Donald Trump, yes, I will vote for Mr. Biden. But there's a very good likelihood that many of the millennials will have come to a conclusion that the voting doesn't matter because none of the things that they need is supported by Joe Biden. The things that millennials need, the things that we have taken from the things that we have not afforded millennials and the young Gen Xers over the years, Biden does nothing for that. Biden makes sure that and you know what, even for the old people, because he is in support of entitlement reform, which means chain CPI, which means we're going to cut money from the people who least we need to cut it from, as we continue to have a policy that awards the rich the most. But why are these women so fearful? Well, David Sirota, one of Bernie's proteges, castigated the media because that is the issue. The media is the issue. And here's what he had to say.
The senator and his aides, and you yourself online, have been critical at times of the media, or what the senator has sometimes called the corporate media, in its coverage. Do you think the press is still doing about the same, or do you think it's been any fairer at this stage in the race?
I think that the fundamental criticism is that the media, from Bernie Sanders, is that the corporate media has not covered the serious issues that are of importance to the American people, that oftentimes the issues are frivolized and there's distractions about campaign gossip and the like. I think that what Bernie Sanders is up against, in part, is trying to focus the debate on the real issues of the day. And I would tell you, there are great journalists out there who are doing great work, but in general, the criticism stands.
In general, the criticism stands, and it should stand, because what's going on out here in the system is that we have a media that is indoctrinating the people by giving them false reports, false data, false all these things, why they are voting the way they are. South Carolina, which started this acceleration for Biden, didn't just flow out of nowhere. It came from an orchestration of psychology, an orchestration of slave mentality, an orchestration of all these issues bundled into one that came in an avalanche. And then it continued. And why did it continue? Because they made a plausibly sounding story of what was really occurring. Folks, we have to understand these issues, and that's what we're going to talk about when I get over with the last video. But I tell you what's important. Remember what those women from Michigan said. Those women from Michigan said, we would love to vote our values. We would love to vote our values. But we could not vote our values. What's going on here? As it turns out, it seems like we had the stream set for the wrong amount of time, so our phone network may... we're not going to have the phones today. I made a bad calculation and didn't put 90 minutes for some reason. Anyhow, it looks like it... Well, we'll try to see if it continues to go. I will still try to see if we get the phones in. I think we may be able to work with the phones anyway. Anyhow, telephone number is 646-716-5812. When this stuff clocks out and gives me the impression that it's out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask somebody to give us a call to see if it's going to continue working. But what happened is the way we worked the phones, something happened. Anyhow, I want you to listen to Sanders channeling some very important words by Nelson Mandela, and he did this at the end of the last debate. And when I heard those words, I actually made a little t-shirt out of those words, because it was like, wow, using that with Bernie Sanders really, really touched the nerve. But I want you to go ahead and listen to this now. Check this out.
Misconception, and you're hearing it here tonight, is that the ideas I'm talking about are radical. They're not. In one form or another, they exist in countries all over the world. Healthcare is a human right. We have the necessity, the moral imperative to address the existential threat of climate change. Other countries are doing that. We don't need more people in jail, disproportionately African American, than any other country on earth. Not a radical idea. The motto, the saying that moves me the most is from Nelson Mandela. And Mandela said, everything is impossible until it happens. And that means if we have the guts to stand up to powerful special interest, we're doing phenomenally well. If we can bring working people together, black and white and Latino, we can create a nation
All right, Senator.
where all
Sanders, thank
people
you.
have a good
Senator
standard of
Moore, sir.
living.
Notice how she tries to cut him off real quickly. All right. So the reason I preempted and started the program this way, and folks, if you're just joining us, please, I beg of thee, share these programs. It is so important that we share these programs more so than ever. For those of you who are on YouTube, if you want to contribute to the program, please remember you can hit the super chat. That's a $ there, and hit the super chat and become a great sharer of the program to make sure that we get things done. Look, here's the deal, folks. Here's the deal. Title of the show today was COVID-19, oil, stock, debt market crash makes status quo candidate a danger. Again, remember what those women from Michigan said. Their hearts are with Bernie because they want to have real change. They no longer want corporate dominance. They want changes that work for people. Right, that's what they said. But they are scared that Biden cannot beat Trump. The truth of the matter is we have to have somebody that beats Biden and Trump. The truth of the matter is the only solution for Americans or for the average middle class Americans is to really have somebody who has their interests at heart. So the subtitle of the show today, do not be fooled. COVID-19 should not cause the forming of economic catastrophe in progress. We are experiencing the metastasizing cancer of neoliberalism and unfettered capitalism. That is what we're seeing. The stock market at the time of this show was down 1,900 points. It is down over 15%. But that's not surprising to me. We also have much of what people don't talk about. We also have the oil market that's crashing. And why is it crashing? Because of an economic system that claims to be market-based, but there's no market. There is no existence of a market, folks. We're going to talk about that. We're going to learn a little bit about Economics 101 in a little bit. Very easily spoken, very easily understood. And I would like to ask you to please remember, share these programs because we are going to get serious on these issues. And I mean, really, really serious. Now, so we are concerned about the market that's crashing, the oil markets that are crashing. There's something nobody talks about. There's this thing called the repo market. You don't know about it. The media doesn't talk a lot about it. But if you notice today, there was a little flash that came out. The government is throwing a whole lot of money into credit now because they want to build up the credit markets to make sure they don't freeze. Something is happening. They're about to freeze again, like 2008. Maybe worse. So they're souping it up right now, right? Why are they doing that? What's the repo market, folks? The repo market is at the end of every day. All banks have to be imbalanced. And if they've loaned money to a whole lot of people, they have to remain, their balance sheets have to remain in balance. So to cover whatever they've loaned and all the other transactions that they've made, they go to something known as the repo market. In the repo market, they borrow from other private banks, and to cover, if he has an excess, he can loan it to the other person, and they have rates. And these are daily rates, or some rates may last hours till the next close of the next close. That's what happens in the background. Most Americans don't know about it. That market is crashing. You don't hear about it. But when it crashed the same way in 2008, people were like, what the hell happened? We didn't know this was going on. The repo market is crashing. Look it up. So, the government has stepped in. This big capitalist country is dependent now on socialism to keep the banks going. They're going to the bank. They're going to the government for money. They're going to take your money to recapitalize all this stuff. But they don't want anything called democratic socialism. But when they need it, they need it. Now that the markets are crashing because COVID-19, by the way, COVID-19, everybody wants to blame COVID-19 for this calamity that's occurring worldwide. Look, COVID-19, the way it's advertised is scary. And not only is it scary, but, well, you know, whenever you talk about an infection that a lot of Americans have not yet built up an immunity to, that presents a problem for the community, right? Because it spreads fast. Now, as it turns out, the mortality rate for the disease isn't an Ebola, right? It's not, I mean, it's worse than flu, but flu kills a lot of people. But it's not as bad. You get it, and if most people recover from it, most people probably don't even know that they've had it, okay? But, because of the uncertainty of a president that lies to everybody all of the times, because of the uncertainty of the truth coming out from our science, Donald Trump's science department, the CDC and others, because of all these issues, right? Nobody really knows the effect. But here's what started to happen. People started to fly less. People started to take less cruises. People are spending less money. People are spending more money at home. So finally we get to understand. Finally we get to understand exactly what happens and who is responsible for the economic success of the United States of America. And guess who that great person is? Guess who that worthy person is? Guess who it is that really allowed billionaires to be able to take and have money? You know what they find out in these times? That is you. Because whenever you decide to stay home, whenever you decide to be more self-sufficient, those people who have been suckering the money out of you can no longer make what money they used to make. So here it is. They're always fighting about not giving you stuff. They're always fighting about not affording you programs to make your life better. But they always want to have you to make their lives better. You are their government. You are their Social Security. You are their Medicare. You are their Medicaid. You are their airplanes. You are their everything. But they want you to believe that when you say you want health care, Medicare for all, when you want care for your kids, when you want to ensure that everyone has a wage that they can earn a living, that somehow they are doing you a favor. And what I'm saying to empower folks and not believe the crap that they're telling you, you are only asking for free stuff. It's not true. You go to work and you are the ones that make this economy run. And the fact that the only time now they're talking about, let's start thinking about how government can give these people work leave so that they stay home, infect less people so that business can go on. It was not in their purview to give you health care. It was not in their purview to give you anything as long as you were still spending and supporting them. But as soon as you stopped spending, as soon as things didn't go their way, they didn't say, let's see what best we can do to help people. Private companies didn't say, well, since right now all those people that work for us are not doing well, let's for now suspend our payments to the shareholder and let's go ahead and make the lives of the people who sustain us better. They run and they say, hey, government, why don't you give them health care? Hey, government, why don't you give them child leave? Hey, government, why don't you give them a leave so they can stay home so they don't infect anymore? Let's get to one of the things that I really try to show people is that America is, in fact, already a socialist state. It's not a democratic socialist state. It is a socialist state. Bernie and others that believe in democratic socialism want to make it that is exactly what you want. They want to make it that way. So folks, what I'm trying to tell you here is let's make sure and start looking out for the American people. And let's not let the establishment be the one that controls you. When I see what's going on, Elizabeth says, I've never seen you so mad. As the kids used to say, it's on fire. Elizabeth, let me tell you something, my dear sister. It is time for Americans to get mad, but they need to get mad at the right people. We don't need to have the Biden supporters mad at the Bernie supporters. We don't need to have the Bernie supporters mad at the Biden supporters. We need to have all the Democrats vote for the candidate that's going to do the right thing for them and not believe the crap. I want, for those of you that are just coming again, I want to play those mothers, those women, those great women from Michigan and what they had to say. I want to play what those great women from Michigan had to say because what their words are prescient. Their words are prescient. Check this out from the Michigan women again. For those of you who said I need to do it again, go ahead.
You and your entire family supported Bernie in 2016?
Yes, we did. My entire family, except for my mother. We all supported Bernie Sanders. We all wanted to see a big change. We didn't want to see status quo corporate Democrat. Now, after 4 years of Trump, I'm a little bit afraid of the unconventional.
The electability part of it is, I think, what's throwing a lot of people off and throwing a lot of people off of their values. They're very concerned about who's going to go up against Trump, who's going to be able to bring the fire, bring the energy that's going to win the general election. And so a lot of people aren't voting with their values because of that.
Okay, I hear you, Delphine Bacala. Welcome aboard. In fact, I don't think I welcome everybody to the show. Welcome, Kathleen Morgan, Mike Cizak, Michael Dean Newton, Lee Grant. And, of course, there is Elizabeth Parker, my friend. Welcome aboard, my dear friend. And Delphine Bacala, welcome aboard. Delphine, it is never too late, and that is why if you're watching this on Facebook, you'll see, or in your case, YouTube, you'll see the chart that I have out there. I know everybody is saying the current states that need to be voting now are more conducive because of their black vote and etc. to support Biden. I went out to San Antonio to celebrate the birthday of a friend earlier on this weekend. And one of the guys, an older black man, said, he's right into Biden, and he thinks Biden is the only one that can win, and he thinks Biden needs to pick Klobuchar as the candidate. I mean, I understand where he's coming from. What I told him is, I think it's a selfish way of thinking in that we settle for this, right? So let me tell you where I am at, Delphine Bacala. Here's the deal. Yes, I am mad. Yes, I want to talk to all people about not acquiescing to the fallacies that somehow this stuff is already baked. That is what they have to push in the mainstream media. And they have a big platform. But we can as well with geometric progression. You can, Miss Delphine, you can make sure that everybody you know on your different platforms either share a program like this to them or pass to them a link in an email or whatever. And that goes for every progressive listening to me right now. We have time until Michigan is not closed. When Biden turned it around, it took 3 days. 3 days of heavy duty South Carolina pushing. And then 3 days after South Carolina, we have time. We have time to change minds. Moreover, Biden is a self-destructing person. And not only is he self-destructing, but I want to be kind when I say this, but upstairs, he's not what he used to be. But it's not only that he's not what he used to be, because he was never, ever some sort of a strategist, intellect, or otherwise to do these kinds of things. So my point is, I hear you, Delphine, when you said, I've been on fire since Super Tuesday, but we should have done it before. I surely do understand that, but it's never too late. My message here to the Bernie Sanders supporters, which I think should be a lot of by the time you're done watching this program or listening to this program on the podcast, I want it to be all of Biden's, or rather all of Sanders listeners and former Biden supporters, now Bernie supporters. I want you to call everybody you know and let them know it's never over, because this is a democracy. Not only that, they have power. They have power. Because if you listen to those women in Michigan, if you listen to what they were saying, we can't vote our values because we don't think he can win. Let's stop. If you don't think he can win, it's because you think there are people that others are not getting to. My question to you is this: who are you not talking to try to convince? You don't have to convince 9 out of 10. You don't have to convince 8 out of 10. You don't have to convince 5 out of 10. You probably have to convince 3 out of 10, if that many. And that's a win. Folks, what we have to do is we have to stop allowing them to play us. Let's look at what's going on. I spoke already about the repo market. I spoke about the stock market being a fallacy. Now, the stock market had zoomed up. Trump did all kinds of things to make the stock market go up. He went ahead and he gave an ill-advised tax cut that he claimed was for everybody, but in reality, it was only for the wealthy, because even as some of the poor got a tiny, tiny tax cut, all of that tax cut went back into their health care being more expensive than inflation, their gas, everything got more expensive. So the plutocracy Trump gave the semblance of giving some money back, but it was just money that went right back into the plutocracy as they raised their prices on everything: insurance, health care, everything. So don't be fooled by these little steps for the middle class. No, it's not. All the monies went one place. The only time the middle class gets help is when you've stopped the flow of money to the rich. When you've stopped the flow of money from the middle class, when the middle class doesn't have enough money to throw back to the rich, then they go ahead and give relief to the middle class so they can continue funneling the money back. That's just how the system works. Now, interestingly, we have now an oil crisis. And folks, for those of you that are listening on YouTube, like I said, you can be a part of the program. You can always go ahead and give us a super chat, support the program. That is how we actually keep this going. Before I get to the questions, what I want to do is my quick 2-minute call for support. So what I want to ask you guys to do is to please go to store.politicsdoneright.com, store.politicsdoneright.com. Please consider getting some of our stuff. I support independent media with our logo. Consider getting some of our cups and all that good stuff. We have a lot of good stuff. In fact, I redid the store because we needed to reduce cost. And what the store looks like now, it's actually pretty nice. We have a whole lot of features in that store now that you can check out. If you take a look at the store now, we have our books, all the books that we have here. Check that out. We also now have a new set of cups, man. We have a new set of cups that we are putting out there. Check these out. These new set of cups with the Politics Done Right on it. We have the one with the squad. Here's a mug with the squad. I kind of like this one. You see that one that you see with the squad on it? I think I have a better picture of it here with Ilhan Omar and the whole works. These are some nice set of cups. We also, guess what we have as well? we have a new T-shirt that we came out with just last night. And check this T-shirt out. You remember that stuff that I told you about Mandela, right? I really love that phrase that he used. And if you check it out here, where did I put that one? Here it is. Here is a T-shirt with the phrase that says, Mandela, everything is impossible until it happens. Everything is impossible until it happens. And the reason I brought that one out, right, is because a lot of people are feeling dejected. They're feeling like Delphine just said earlier, it is too late. And Delphine, look, if Donald Trump was a person to be supported right now, I would. To save America, I would. If Joe Biden was a person to be supported right now, I would as well. The problem is that is not the case. So consider going to get some of these things at our site, folks. That will help the program go. But there are other ways to support us. You can support us by going to our site, our link at patreon.com/ it's patreon.com/politics done right. You can become a subscriber going there. You can always help us with our equipment fund by going to gofundme.com/independent-media-upgrade. And as well, you can go ahead and contribute to the show by simply going to paypal.me/politics done right. But don't forget, the store is there all as well. If you want those cups, if you want those stickers, you want those books, all that good stuff. A lot of what you hear me talk about is in here. And when I talk about neoliberalism as well, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, Delphine. And as I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. I wrote this book a while back. Still apropos, let me tell you something, folks. We need to get people reading this kind of stuff. I mean, a lot of people are scared to read about economics. I presented this not in an economics form, okay? I presented it in some economics, but I presented it in a way in which people can understand it quite well. But they like to tell you, "Oh, we have markets." It's a lie. Let's just give an example with the oil crash that is occurring right now. They don't explain it quite well to the average American citizen. They just say, "Oh, the oil prices are crashing and Russia and Saudi Arabia are having a dispute. So Saudi Arabia decided it's going to flood the market with oil." Here's a lie that they always tell you. They always tell you we have a market economy and all is governed by supply and demand. Well, here's the funny thing about it, right? There was a time that people thought we reached peak oil. But technology has allowed us to find and use oil that we never thought was either usable or that we never thought was there. So peak oil is no longer a real thing quite yet. I mean, there's so much hydrocarbons in all kinds of forms, in all kinds of strata throughout the world. So the reality is there isn't peak oil right now, no matter what you read, okay? Because we keep understanding that for the millions of years that we had carbon structures being buried and formation occurring, it's all over the place. So here's the deal. Here's what I want to tell you, because this is important. There was always a cartel for oil, not a market. People decided how much they were going to hold back. Capitalism depends on something. Our type of economy depends on something called scarcity. Scarcity means that if things are not in full abundance, what you can do is assign a price to it that ensure that there's not a run on it or that you don't run out of it or whatever. So what happens with oil is when they created oil and called it something that was scarce, they could assign a high price to this scarce entity so they could make money and control its flow. But here's the kicker. That doesn't fall within the purview of humanity. Let me explain what I mean. Like I said, oil currently is not a scarce resource. As such, oil should be very, very cheap in a vacuum. On its own, oil should be very cheap because we can get it everywhere. But here's the kicker. Burning oil destroys the environment. It creates global warming. It creates pollutant in the ground and the groundwater and all these things. So when you price the real value into into what oil does, it's no longer a cheap resource. But in a capitalist society, we don't do that. We don't look at the externalities of other things. You need, guess what, to do that? Government. You see, somebody finds oil, they sell it, and they don't worry about anything after that. That is capitalism, the way the capitalism system works when you don't have controls. Now, government can come in and say, no, we see externalities and that price, you will pay for that. In other words, all the lung cancers and all of that you have in Pasadena and all these other places that get these things, right? Who should pay for those? Who should pay that health care? The person who profited from selling you the stuff. That's who should be paying for it. But that's not how they do it. In the capitalist system, they create products. These products make you sick, right? These products make you sick. And after it makes you sick, you also pay the same people who also owns insurance companies that you pay them to make you healthy. Is that a racket or what? Anyhow, before I continue on this discussion, I think I better go to some of the things. Let me start with Delphine Hatter last thing. I'm sorry, Egberto, I'm going hard on you and all black progressive platforms because none of you got mad at what went wrong with the elder black went. All the capitalism nightmare is clear to me. Delphine, go ahead and explain that to me. I don't know if I quite understand why you're mad at what I just said. Or why you're mad at all black progressives. Because he says, because none of you got mad at what went wrong with the elder black went. I don't understand what that means. Explain it for me. Okay, let's see. Oil is overpriced because status like to tax the hell out of it to pay their effects. Again, Lee Grant. Lee Grant, I'm asking you to stop a minute. Stop thinking like a conservative for a minute and start thinking like a human being for one quick second. And let me ask you a question. Think about it this way. Your statement is oil is overpriced because of the taxes we put on it. I just explained to you that using oil, having an oil economy, meant that those who profited from oil also sickened a whole lot of people. Their benzene and all these other issues, or benzene in the ground and soil and the water, give people cancer. The crap it releases in the air give people lung disease. All these things are negative things done by oil. So oil is not cheap. Oil is not overpriced. If we were not a capitalist society and we actually priced oil for what it does and to repair the damage it creates, oil will probably be $10 a barrel and oil will be responsible for, paying the health care for many people. But we don't do that. We put all the expense on to the people. Okay, let's see what Delphine was saying. She says she says with elder vote, the firewall. Oil should be, that's not Delphine. Delphine, sorry, but YouTube, yeah, I know YouTube have a shortage of how many words you can put in. But Delphine, I don't think, at least in my case, I don't think you have I don't think there's a reason for you to be mad at things that I've been preaching for a very long time and I've been working on for a very long time. But if you can tell me where I've erred, I mean, I'm always ready to correct myself, man. Always ready to correct myself. Okay, James Reedy says, you are on fire. I love your show very much. These capitalists barely value our lives above the cattle they grow with cloning because we are their slaves. That is why old people will die off in record numbers in the next 5 years. And, the interesting thing about that is I don't want people to die off. I don't want them to die off. I want people to live long lives, but I want them to live long, intelligent lives, knowing that they have been screwed and then taking back what's theirs. That is what I want. Mike Cisak says, Egberto, sorry, but your ignorance about oil and related info is hurting my brain. Mike Cisak, there is not one thing that I just said that is not corroboratable, that you cannot corroborate, or that isn't factual. If there's something that I just said that you believe is factual, give me the exact statement that make anything that I've just said not factual. And believe me, like I said, when people find that I've made or I've erred somewhere, I will be the first to correct it. Okay, let's see. Bruce Pollard. Hey, Bruce, welcome aboard, my brother. Bruce said, oil should be taxed because it is devouring our environment. So true. Let's see. We have also Delphine says, thanks. I don't know about your I didn't know about your book. Can you tell me again where I can get it? You can go to store.politicsdoneright.com and get a copy of the book if you want a hard copy, or you can also go to amazon.com and just look up As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. Of course, you can as well go to, you can just go look it up everywhere. It's sold everywhere. But again, if you get it from store.politicsdoneright.com, you kind of take out some of the middlemen. All right. Delphine says, oh, no, I'm not mad at what you do. It's what we needed this far, this passion, a while ago, it seems. Delphine, I work with an organization called the Coffee Party, where some people don't respond very well to passion. They look at passion, especially coming from a black Caribbean Latino, I hate to get racial here, as being upset or mad. I tell you a little story. I won't go into that story. I better use that time for more productive things. But anyhow, so I think this passion, though, is necessary to activate many people that are thinking right now that it's all over. And it's not all over. What I want people to understand is that they are in command. And Michigan has not happened yet. And by the way, after Michigan will have awarded 352 votes. Over at the next debate, we have time to get to Biden. We have time to put him under scrutiny. I'm getting like Biden now. El Señor Bernie Sanders has the ability to really query Biden in a one-on-one conversation with him. And also we know Biden his brain gets fried sometime. Maybe not as fried, maybe a little bit frieder than the one that I just showed there. Anyhow, James Reedy replying to Mike Cisak says, Mike, I want a third party. We already know the Democratic Party cheats just as bad as the Republican Party. Clinton practically bought the DNC in 2016 and changed the voting rules 1 week before several primaries. Voting machines are not adding up in Texas in 44 different precincts. That should be a much bigger story than it is. In Texas, there are 44 precincts. Their votes just weren't counted. If Bernie wants my monetary help to continue, he needs to pull a Ross Perot and run as an independent just to show how many of us there are in the country to force a third party and 2024. That is the best move that can be made at this point. I will no longer throw money at Bernie Sanders as long as he has 8D in front of his name. He doesn't have an 8D. He's running under the Democratic Party because, as it turns out, that's the only way. Look, I don't understand all the intricacies at all, but let me tell you, it's interesting. Delphine says, I'm sorry, Egberto, that what is difficult for me, it's a cultural issue. Exactly, Delphine. Exactly, Delphine. You understand. Now, look, folks, we have a lot of work to do. And I expect still for those who support the progressive agenda to work hard for the candidate that is supporting that progressive agenda. I expect you to continue working. I expect you, for all those people that are listening to the news media, I expect you to start telling them that it is by design that they're trying to make everything seem inevitable. It is by design. Their goal is to make you believe this is all over. If they can make you believe this is all over, then those polls come to reality. Then he cannot win. If they allow you to believe that you can't win, people stay home. What it is incumbent on all of us listening right now and sharing, and please, folks, you need to share so that others can get this as well, my brothers and my sisters. What is important, right, is for folks to understand that you can still influence people. What I wanted to tell those women, those beautiful suburban women who wanted to vote progressive, they wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders, but they decided to vote for Biden because they thought they don't want to take any chances. The chance is Biden. The chance they're taking with is Biden. It is amazing to me that most people cannot understand that Biden, when he is talking, he is losing it. They don't understand yet that what's going to happen to him when he's forced to meet Donald Trump is Donald Trump is going to get him frazzled. And when he gets frazzled, it's not the stuttering that's going to get to America. It's the buffoonery that's going to come out of his mouth like it did in that debate where he started talking about record players and black parents playing records to their kids. When was the last time somebody played a record player to their kids again? I don't remember when that was the last. That was a long time ago. I mean, it is like he's living in the past. All the things that he continued to say. So we are going to have to be vigilant. We are going to have to be talking to our peers. When you go to the grocery store and you hear that conversation about, oh, yes, I like this person, but I got to vote this way. You tell folks, vote their values. Because between now and November, we have the time to make sure enough voters, not only Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, we have enough time to talk to these folks about voting their values, about voting their values. I never, ever, ever give up hope on people. Ever. And the reason you can never give up hope on people is exactly how everybody gave up hope on Biden. Yes, it is true. He had the plutocracy. He had the establishment. He had the corporate media. He had everything in his favor to push a narrative that became reality. Look up the show that I did a couple of days ago called When Reality Was, how we created a new reality with Biden. And in creating that new reality with Biden, it worked. It worked. But what we have to do now, people, is go out there. What we have to do out there is make sure that COVID-19, the stock market crash, the oil market crash, the repo market destruction, let's make sure to hold those who are responsible for all of that accountable. Let's remember that if in 2009 we had locked those people up who destroyed the economy instead of giving them another opportunity to do what they've done again, we wouldn't be here today. COVID-19 would not have been enough to create the havoc that is about to happen. We will be in recession this year. I tell you, folks, COVID-19, oil pressure, oil collapse, stock market collapse, repo market collapse, these are all, again, the genesis from all of this is from the administration. The administration, not the Trump administration, but the Obama-Biden administration not locking the criminals up. And they had Carta Grande. They were able to do exactly what they did again. And we are going to live through it again. I've been telling friends for a long time, get your money out of the stock market. It's a mirage. Because you just needed some semblance of a shock for people to say, okay, the house of cards ready to tumble. Let me get out of here before everybody else finds out. And that's what's been happening. Folks, you know, even at the prices that it is right now, the stock market is still above the beginning of Trump's administration, if I recall correctly. So a lot of people have already made a lot of money. And every time they cause the market to crash, because, you know, it's not built on anything of value, anytime they cause it to crash, some guys made a little bit more money. The guys who controlled the titans of finance made a little bit more money. I want to remind all you folks that these guys on Wall Street aren't smart. They just have capital. They just have capital, and they were chosen to be there. The smart people are the ones listening to us right now. The smart people are the ones out there right now. The smart people are the ones that are making this economy go around. Folks, if you're with me and you're on YouTube, consider super chatting us. Those are the smart people, folks. You are the smart persons. Let's not allow them to make us dumb through the institutionalization of the Powell Manifesto. Let's stay strong. Let's stay smart. Let's move forward. We're coming to the end of the program. Let's see. We didn't need millions of people with regrets after the crash. The election of Donald T. Trump was supposed to be the shock. James Reed, the reason thank you, Delphine. Mike Cisak says the reason the Democratic Party keeps cheating is because the establishment is obsessed with keeping power. Sanders wants power too, but for government over. Mike Cisak, you know better. Let's see. Yes, it's Delphine. Yes, it's mind blowing that after all those months that people forgot why it is in the first place they were seeking another alternative to Biden. The guy is a disaster. Look, the guy had never won a primary. He has lost primaries because of plagiarism. He has lost primaries because of lies. He's already started lying in these primaries where he comes out and he says, oh, I finished at the top of my class. No, you finished at the bottom of your class. And other things like that. People think that he can beat Trump because he's nice. They're going to make him Trump. That's the good thing about El Señor Sanders. It's hard to make Sanders Trump. Folks, we're coming to the end of the show. I thank you so kindly for being with us here. I ask you so kindly to share these programs. It is so important because there's no other alternative other than independent media to put out the information the way it should be. The mainstream media, as David Soretta called it out today, is a mess. They owe themselves to the drug companies that advertise with them. They owe themselves to all the corporations that advertise to them. So, of course, they can't tell you the things that we're telling you here. Of course not. So, folks, stay with us. Please support us. Let's make sure to let everybody understand that unless we get more progressives in Congress, unless we get more progressives in the Senate, we cannot do all that we must do. So, folks, please support us at store.politicsdoneright.com. Become a subscriber at patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. And become a promoter by sharing. Let's make sure to make all of this go forward. Let's protect our own. Let's protect the middle class and the poor. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!